What's going on, y'all? It's your guy TezDafye of the 5100 podcast. It is Monday. I was supposed to go to work. I overslept. So I was like, fuck it, I ain't going. And I'm not finna go on a binge about working a 9 to 5 job again. I done already did that. Y'all already know how I feel about that. I was like, hey, since I'm not going to my 9 to 5 job, let's go ahead and do my other job, which is the podcast. So I was thinking about lineage, family, royalty, kings, queens, and all that other stuff. And I am the oldest son in my family, which would make me the prince, if you're looking at it from a royalty standpoint, which I am now. And being the prince of the family, the older and older you get, the more and more you realize that the king's reign is coming to an end. And I know me, I always wonder and compare myself. No, I always wonder if I can stack up to other men. And I don't know how many men go through this. If you a good brother, like I know you probably think about it as well. But I know for me, I think about it often. And I know I probably shouldn't compare myself to other men, but I do it all the time because I want to be looked at as one of these guys where it's like, oh man, that's Tez. Tez was that's that man, bro. Like, he was respected. He spoke his mind. He spoke his truth. He was a hard worker. Like, I want that type of reputation. And seeing my father, I always believed that I could never stack up to him. And part of me still does. But I realized as the prince, most guys that was about to ascend to the throne thought that way. What can I do to be a better king than my father? What can I do to expand the land? What can I do to expand the influence that I have on people? What can I do to expand the wealth that our family has? And I think about these things often because I have my own kingdom that I'm running. And if you listen to the podcast when we made the Kings, Queens, God, and Goddesses episode, we talked about this. Whereas a king, you need to have something. You need to have land. Nowadays, there would be, regular land or a house. You need to have a council, which would be a house or home. Most kings didn't need a queen to be certified a king, but if you want to do it traditionally, most kings had a queen. They had wealth. They had honor and respect. And using these things in modern terms now, I still believe it can be done. I ain't saying nobody gotta bow to a nigga or nothing. But at the same time, you are a king if you have your own kingdom. Your kingdom would be your land, your house, and your family. And for me, it even extends out into my mother's and father's home. Because if something happens to my father, I become the king of that dynasty. Or at least that's the way I look at it. And I take it seriously because I want to be able to expand out my father's land as well as my own. I want to be able to expand out my father's money as well as my own. Because one of the things that I'm seeing and have seen in our community, we don't leave shit behind but debt and clothes. And for my family, I want to be able to break that. I don't know what my father had set up. I'm pretty sure he got an insurance plan, but I don't know. I don't know if he got a will. I don't sit around asking him that type of stuff. Maybe I should, but I haven't. But with me knowing that I don't know, it makes me want to be more secure so I can make sure that I'm able to take care of the people that I need to take care of. First, my immediate family, my wife and my son. Then my brothers, my sisters, my mother, when my father passes. And of course, I ain't trying to speed that process up because I ain't nowhere near where I want to be. But at the same time, I look at these things because I take that lineage, I take that last name seriously. And I want it to be better. I've said this before, y'all. I want to be the person in the family that other people can look up to. Now I know what comes with that. Criticism, people talking behind your back, people wanting to pull you down. But if y'all ain't noticed, I'm getting all that shit already just by talking the way I talk on this podcast. So it don't matter if you got the same last name I got or you don't. The arrows, bullets, and crosses still coming regardless. And God done put something in me to where I can handle that. I don't mind. I don't care because I know what I'm doing. I'm doing it out the goodness of my heart. So as long as I know that, I don't care what your ill will is. I don't care what your ill intentions are because I know why I'm doing what I'm doing is for a good reason. In saying that, I'm trying my best to prepare myself for that role. I'm about to get real nerdy for a minute, but I play a game called Crusader Kings 3. It's a PC game where you are a king or a count, but I'm talking about kings now, so I stick to that, or emperor. And the game doesn't end when one king dies, when you as the main character die. What happens is the person next in line, which is usually a male son, takes over and you play as him with all of his skills, with all of his negatives. And from father to son to grandson to great-grandson to great-great, you continuously build up a legacy and you continuously run a kingdom. And you do that by taking the strengths and weaknesses of that king and building the kingdom around it. Example, so let's say I'm good at diplomacy, which is talking. I'm good at cutting deals. I'm good at negotiating truces and alliances. I would build my kingdom around making friends, negotiating trade deals. But if my weakness is war, I wouldn't run head first in the war. So you learn to play the game based on your strength and weaknesses in that game. The difference between the generations is when you first start, you have little or nothing as far as innovations. A lot of the things that we have now ain't been close to being able to create it when that game started. But looking at it now in real life, it's a lot of technology now that I have that my father never had access to. And now that I have access to more advanced technology, I pride myself on learning them and getting better at them. Like the stock market. I'll use that as one example. When I got in the stock market, I didn't know nothing about it. And I went to the most prestigious college in the world, the most prestigious learning center in the world, YouTube. And I watched video after video after video of the stock market. And I was like, I'm gonna jump in here when I get some free money. Got some free money, jumped in 2020 when everything was crashing. Jumped in head first, put thousands of dollars in there. I won't tell y'all how successful that was for me. But I'll tell you this. Once I seen what my profit was, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna be doing this shit for a minute. I made so much money in 2020 from the stock market. But this was from a guy that had watched a few YouTube videos and was like, bro, I'm gonna dive in here. But see, my father didn't have access to what we have access to today. So therefore, it would have been a lot harder for him to do that. So he played to his strengths, which was manpower and motivation from having 4 damn kids. So he used his manpower, he used his body, he used his time to establish his kingdom and establish a foundation for which we all stood on at one point in time. Me, both of my brothers, my mother, and my sister. So in him doing that, and me watching him do that for years, it made me say, what can I do to expand these? I got the technology. I don't have to do 50% of the manpower he did. Or I don't have to use 50% of the manpower he had to use. Now the time, shit, I'm still using that. But it's a lot of things now that my father didn't have access to that I do. It's a lot of money making activities now that my father didn't have access to, but I do. So because I do, my goal is to use those things and multiply the fortune, multiply the land, and multiply the legacy. My job as the prince is to do everything in my power to make the kingdom stronger in my reign. And I know for a lot of y'all, especially women, y'all like, what the fuck is this man talking about? But to the people that's listening, especially the eldest sons or daughters, y'all might feel a little bit more where I'm coming from. Because I knew being the oldest son carried a different responsibility than being the middle of the baby. I knew I would always be looked up to. Even if I ain't respect myself, I still had other people looking up to me. So because of that, I always wanted to do things the right way. Did I always do it? Of course not. I ain't perfect. But I tried to be as much as I could. In order to be a successful king, you have to make sure that the people around you look up to you and respect you. Even as a prince, you want the people to look up to you and respect you because they know one day you gonna be the head of the kingdom. They know one day all the responsibility is gonna be on your shoulder. They know one day that when war comes, you the first guy that everybody looking at. They know when the enemy comes through those gates, you supposed to be the person that's giving out the order. And if they can't trust you, or if they don't believe in you, chaos happens. And when chaos happens, everything falls apart and you might lose your kingdom. And my goal is to put myself in a position that when it's my time to take over the kingdom, the people that I need to look up to me and trust me, look up to me and trust me. My goal as the prince right now is to establish myself to when the time comes for me to put on that crown, they know they got somebody to look up to and believe in. Now, is that putting a lot of pressure on my shoulders? Maybe. But it's a reason why I think the way I think. And it's a reason why a lot of y'all can feel me when it comes to this. Because it's something in you like it's something in me that wants to make stuff better for other people. Not just for myself. But you got something in you that's telling you, bro, I'm going to take this thing over. It's my team. And because it's my team, I'm going to make it better. That's the way I think. Especially when it comes to my family. In one of the previous episodes we did, I talked about being the outcast. I talked about being the dark horse because that's how I view myself. I always have. And in being the dog horse or the outcast, I often tried different things. I often wanted to try different avenues to make stuff better. Nothing illegal or nothing immoral, but just different ideas. And I believe through those experiences, through some of the things that I've lost and some of the things that I've gained, that when the time comes for the king to step down, or when the time comes that the king goes up to meet the good father above, the prince will be ready for the throne. The prince will be ready to take over the kingdom and make it better. The prince will be able to expand the land and expand the influence of his legacy and of his last name. And if you feel me on this episode, reach out to us and let me know. Because I know I ain't the only person that feel this way. I know I ain't the only person that think about making the name better that they grew up with. But that's where I'm at. And y'all, I take that so seriously. I think about it often. I think about it so much I done made a podcast about it. When it's my time to take over the kingdom, I'm not saying I want it to be better. It will be better. Because I am preparing myself to be king. And not only to be king, to be a great king that is remembered not only throughout his kingdom, but throughout other kingdoms. Because at the end of the day, your legacy, your name is all you really got. And when your time as king is up, you want to make sure that your son or your daughter, whoever picks up the throne for you, or whoever picks up the throne from you, whoever puts on the crown after you, is well prepared to carry on the legacy. And I can say that when that time comes, I will be prepared. And I will be preparing my son to take over the throne as well.